We got Heretic798 calling in. Heretic, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Duluth, Minnesota.
From Minnesota. Okay, I'm going to turn you up a little bit. How's Minnesota right now?
The usual, cold.
It's pretty north, right? Does it touch Canada? I don't really know.
Yeah,
I don't pay
Minnesota
attention.
touches Canada.
It does?
Yep.
Okay, good. See?
Is it
You
more
don't
north
pay
than some parts of
attention?
Canada?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Heretic, what do you want to talk tonight?
Okay, so my topic was that LCS salaries should become public.
Hey!
Yeah,
I'm excited about this. Keep going.
I think that making LCS salaries public would be a positive change for both players and for teams. I think that players need help understanding their value when negotiating contracts because we've heard from people in the scene like Loco and others that players actually don't know that much and they often lie to each other and overinflate their salaries when they're talking about them, like even among each other. And then the reason it would be good for teams is that it gives us more of a measure of whether a team was successful or not by the end of a split. It's not just, hey, did you win or not? It could be like, hey, how well did you do relative to your salary? And I think that even now in the LCS, looking at FlyQuest and Echo Fox as a success being 3-3 and like TSM and GGS being a failure because they're 2-4 is like a reasonable statement to make.
Yeah. Heretic, if you can speak up a little bit too when you talk into the mic. Everyone in chat, I've turned him up as high as possible. I can't get him any louder. So your main points are they should be public because players can benefit from the information because they don't always know like their value or whatever. And secondly, it would give the public greater context on how successful a team is because if they overspent and flopped, then whatever, that would suck. But how does it? You said it benefits the teams as well. How does it benefit the teams?
I think it gives them more of a narrative to spin. Like, it lets people cheer for maybe like a high budget team and a low budget team, or even just like a team being able to brag in the comments of a post game, like, "Hey, we beat you with half your salary." Like, I think those are interesting narratives that
I don't know.
Scene could benefit from.
It helps the viewer.
It's fun to enjoy doing that, but I don't see a world where like Golden Guardians is like tweeting, "Haha, we spent half as much on our players." And they just beat you, TL. You know, like it's just, I don't know about that. I doubt that.
I am a super big proponent of sharing more information, though. I really agree that it will benefit the players. Yeah, maybe not so much the teams, and that might be the stickler, but it helps so much when people in an industry like that have access to that type of information because it can just kind of rise the tides for all players and help out with their negotiations across the board. Plus, then people don't have to have as crazy worries in the off season and go through all these like different scary times with these various levels of agents and managers and stuff that people are going through. And we still have heard like a lot of people had bad deals or bad experience.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and I think I still think I agree with Heretic point, just not about who it benefits. Like I don't think teams would like it, but as someone whose job it is to talk about the scene, I like hearing how much money a team is spending. So if a team like Team Liquid is spending, I don't know, 4 million, 5 million a year on their roster, and then a team like, I know Optic is a team, I don't know their exact salaries or whatnot, but I know Optic is not spending nearly as much, and I think they're one of the lower budget teams in the league, but they're still getting decent results with Crown and stuff like that. You're able to frame things in different ways that I think is in a lot of ways more genuine to the actual situation, where it's like, okay, Optic is spending a fifth of TL's salary, and like that makes the Crown pickup all that more impressive, depending on how much Crown costs or something like that, So I think, as someone who has to talk about it, maybe the teams aren't happy having all the information public, but I do think it's really cool for like how good of a pickup something is or something.
Yeah.
In that example that you gave, though, don't you think that Optic would be happy about that kind of information being public and like people knowing like, oh, they're a good org, they did good scouting, they made good choices?
Not necessarily, because the other side of that shoe on the foot, or the other foot coming down, whatever the fucking saying is, the other side is like, well, why are they so cheap? Why do we have a team in the league that's only spending a fifth? Like, what if they're spending a million less than every other team. Like, why are they here? You get that kind of conversation too.
Yeah.
Also, so what about the scenario like last year where there were all these rumors around Reignover's getting this giant, million something.
800K, I think, was the idea. Was that like TL had given him a contract for 800K, and then CLG would have presumably had to pick that up.
Anyways, big contract for a player who's super underperforming. Like, that player's getting flamed, the management is getting flamed, the team's getting flamed probably.
I did say in my topic it was only good for like teams that place at or above their relative payroll. Like, I understand that if your team like does terrible with a huge payroll, people are going to flame you, but I think that's kind of like what comes with that.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm taking the microphone right now because this is a topic that's actually really exciting for me. I did a Travis Talks on this years ago I think it was the end of 2015, I want to say. And a little known team called Ember, if everyone recalls Ember, the before Academy
Better humans make better players.
Yeah, an NA team will kiss the Summoners Cup in the next 2 years. They took my Travis Talks to heart, and on Christmas Day, against my advice, because they told me they were going to do this, they published the salaries of all the players on their team publicly. And I don't think it helped them because they were overpaying by a factor of 3, I think, based off of what the rumors were for challenger salaries at the time. And they kind of just got flamed out. And because nobody else did it, it didn't really help. It was just like kind of weird. Anyway, at the time, the argument that I made for that video was that player salaries were too low and certain players were getting screwed over. Now, the big thing that has changed in the past 3-4 years is the rise of agents. I think about half of them are pretty incompetent at their jobs and not great, but they all are greedy, and they all do a really good job of figuring out like what everyone is making and sharing information with each other and with probably Jacob Wolf, and doing everything they can to get as much money for their players as possible. And what I think, and on the other side of the coin, you had franchising hit, where basically a lot of the new teams came in, and in the beginning of 2018, a ton of those salaries went up like by a shit ton, right? Like, I think at the very least, Optic last year, when Romain was on the team, shared a little bit of the information. The other thing is that the Players Association started to exist, and one thing that I do know that they have done is share for each position, the highest paid salary, the lowest paid salary, and I think like the median. They don't disclose who is making what, although a lot of people can kind of guess, but it has provided a ton of information for the players. I now am of the opinion that on the top end, the top players are overpaid relative to what the industry is making and the players are making. But anyway, my whole point is now I actually believe that salaries should be. I'm not too worried for the players anymore, but I do think that people do not fully understand the narratives on like, why did this team pick up this player, or why did they pick up this? Once the numbers start to come out, I think that would do a lot to I think what Mark said about being more authentic or genuine to the scene, I think is a really good point. Like, it's weird to talk about a lot of this stuff, like why X player got picked up or why this team is doing this or whatever, without having an understanding of what everyone is spending. What if a lot of people think Huhi is like one of the worst mids in North America? What if 100 Thieves is paying him? What if he's like in the top 3? I don't know if that's the case, but like there's a lot of interesting conversation that can be spun out of this. So I do like the idea of it, though I think that there's less reason from the industry side to do it now. That's my long-winded take. I don't know, Heretic, do you have further thoughts?
No, I didn't know that they did that with salaries. I think that's really cool, and yeah, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts before we say goodbye? Any shout-outs?
Just like to say, love what you do, Travis. Keep plugging away, and maybe if Thorin retires one day, you could become the best interviewer.
Goodbye, Heretic. It's unfortunate that his phone his call disconnected.
I think he said everything he wanted to say.
No, we didn't hear it. He was breaking up, but it was really confusing what was happening there. Mark, you want to go grab the next person?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Man, sometimes people just call in with the wildest takes. So, Sojits, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Salim, 13 months. Wrathful Toaster for the Prime. Oli 1.